Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today in our Nlyte 8 webinar. My name is Mark Giddos. I'm Chief Marketing Officer at Nlyte. We want to thank you for the time you're sharing with us today. And I just wanted to sort of take care of some of the logistics. So we are going to be sending out the recording of this webinar when it is completed, so you all get a link to it if you want to share it with any of your colleagues. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit the questions, and we'll try to get to them at the end. Rob's going to give a short presentation and then give an actual demonstration of Nlyte 8. So we may not have time for questions, but if you do have questions, please feel free to submit them and we'll try to get them. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our Chief Technology Officer and co-founder, Rob Mead. Take it away, Rob.
Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to talk about Nlyte 8. We're going to talk a little bit about Neo, which is Nlyte Energy Optimizer, and how the two combined together give us the Nlyte Platinum Edition. So it's about bringing in real-time metrics into the Nlyte system and looking at what's new inside the Nlyte system today. So if we go through and what was the objective and what was the goal of the Nlyte Platinum system, or Nlyte 8, it was really to provide a single pane of glass, to bring all the information of facilities, IT, and everything into one central place, enabling you to see exactly what's happening with your CIs, your assets within inside the data center, how those data assets are being used, and how the real-time metrics from your data center associates to those assets. And you're going to see some of that today as we go through the demonstration of the product and actually show you the areas where we've added new capabilities and where we're actually bringing in that real-time telemetry. So the major changes inside the enterprise system, or the Nlyte system, the core area of Nlyte really, is one, is we've handed all the certifications, so all the validation of our binary, all the validation of our code, over to a company called Vericode. So they go through and they will independently, they scan the product, they scan our code, they verify that code for intrusion testing, and they make sure it is secure. And basically that whole process now is outside of our control. So it's all done by an independent. They find any issues and we address or fix any of those issues and then add them into the release, go through that process each time we do a release to make sure the application is secure, and also to make sure that this information is publicly available on the Vericode website where we're now verified. Also, it's worth noting the Nlyte system now is certified at hyperscale. So hyperscale for us today is 150,000 racks. So it's around about 6 to 7 million assets. So in that environment now in our hyperscale lab, we have this environment built out. We have the cabinets built out. We have the equipment built out. We have all the power connections, the network connections, and we move these devices around to see what the performance impact would be on the Nlyte system itself, the Nlyte APIs, or anything that is communicating with Nlyte. So each time we do a release now, going forward, everything is hyperscale tested. Every time you raise a feature request or there's anything new that we're going to add to the product, we're always bearing in mind hyperscale, which means for anyone out there who's not going to 150,000 racks, it means that the performance is always optimized for scale. So it will be, you'll notice the application getting more and more performant, and basically you'll never have the worry of basically going larger than the scale of what the system can handle. So that's what we're doing every single release, every time we do an update. So it's hyperscaling, certifying independently, not by us. That's completely outside of Nlyte's control now. The next piece is at the beginning of the year, we bought a company called FieldView. We've now merged that capabilities and started to bring that all together, and we call FieldView now Nlyte Energy Optimizer, or we call it Neo. Basically, that's our real-time telemetry, and that's our ability to bring in real-time metrics into the Nlyte system, do the analytics, see what's going on, but actually start seeing what assets are using what within inside our data center. And I'll show you a little bit of that today in the demo. And it really is that connecting the real-time telemetry of the data center now into Nlyte. So you'll see that as well as I'll go where we kind of see where facilities and IT touch, where we see the two joined together And this is all in the standard interface, everything you're used to with inside Nlyte. We're actually bringing in that real-time telemetry. We're showing overlays on the floor plan. We're showing alerts on the floor plan. We're actually bringing those alerts into the Nlyte system itself now. And that's all under the Platinum Edition. The next piece we've added is within the Nlyte system itself, we've actually decoupled every single search, every single join, every single thing around basically permissions within inside the system. So we've gone right across the whole application. We've added a completely new security layer. This security layer enables us to basically filter out by location what you can and can't see within inside the system. So we control, if you were looking at, say, data center A, and we were all looking inside the data center, and you could only see certain pods, you would only be allowed to see those areas or pods within inside that data center. What you can't see would be grayed out from you. And again, we've added all of this to the permission system, so your permission groups, and you literally add to your permission groups the locations you can and can't see, and that will enable you to filter out and control, to a sense, a multi-tenanted system where you can control who can see what within inside the Nlyte application. What we've also done is we've taken the old administration application that was form-based, we've redeveloped that all in HTML5, and this is our first step towards HTML5, where we're bringing, basically we're going through and we're redesigning and rebuilding all of the Nlyte application, but the administration application was the first area where we started. We've gone through, we've redeveloped all of this in HTML5, and I'll show you some of this. And we've actually brought this into the application itself now, so it's at the upper level navigation system, where we can go through, set our permissions, everything within inside the administration area. But also we've tried to remove and reduce the number of clicks, which is something you'll see us going through a lot more now around focusing on the UI and user experience to get things done quicker. So you'll see when I go through the administration area how we've managed to change the save and get rid of some buttons and make it a lot quicker for you to do stuff. The next big area of change was the dashboards. We've replaced Dundas, which was our original dashboarding OEM, and we've moved over to Dundas BI now, which is all HTML5, which means we've got rid of the Silverlight plugin, but we now give you the ability to build dashboards from the data inside Nlyte or from external data sources. So you can start joining data from Nlyte, other systems, all in one central dashboard, so you can see what's going on inside your organization and then provide that to management for reporting. From an infrastructure point of view, we've gone through, and everything's still Microsoft within the back end and within the front end. We've pretty much gone through, we're certified now on 2012. We're seeing improvements from customers making the SQL changes to 2012, 2012 R2, or 2014 from the SQL side. We're seeing a huge improvements really from the Microsoft side. But that's the real major changes. We're added those couple more support on the database side and then from the operating system side, but they're the major changes on the underlying infrastructure for Nlyte 8. So before I dive into the demo, there's some areas, and I just wanted to point out these. You can talk to your sales reps about what's new inside Nlyte 8. They can take you through some information, and they can show you how to get the new Nlyte 8 instance inside your environment. There's a huge raft of information on the Nlyte website where you can read about what's new inside Nlyte 8, and there's all sorts of areas and links within the system. And with that, I'm now going to take you into the Nlyte system itself. So if we can come out there. Okay.
Rob, so a question came in while you were sort of logging in. Does search still require put an asterisk to find an asset? Can it be changed by default to have like instead of equals in search, or
not in the current Nlyte 8? So that's something we are looking at on the roadmap. So I'm not going to go into the roadmap too much here, but as we go through and redevelop the Nlyte system in HTML5, we are making huge changes in the search and in the UI and the user experience. The major thing on the search is we'll add the if, and, or commands. You'll be able to sort of save your searches, save areas. It's going to be a whole more personal experience when we move over to the HTML5.
Okay, great.
So with that, let me start with, and let's just go over to here. I'm going to start with Neo first, and we're going to have a look at the Neo system, so Nlyte Energy Optimizer, and how we're bringing in the information from the real-time infrastructure, and what that basically gives you the ability to do. So here we're looking at a data center that we've set up inside the demo system, and basically we're able to bring in the real-time telemetry across that infrastructure, so we could be talking to the BMS, we could be talking to the smart power strips, or pretty much anything that's in that environment that gives us telemetry. We can bring that data in and we can see exactly what's going on inside the environment. Now this is inside the Neo system, so the Neo part of the Platinum Edition. This brings in this information. We can also build and configure alarms in here and start doing our notifications from here. But what we can also do inside Neo is we can do what-if scenarios with real-time information. So I'm now going to do a what-if scenario, so we're going to bring up the power trace. So basically, I can do a what-if scenario on this power infrastructure using real-time information and say, what if I was to fail or switch off that power supply? What would be the cascading effect? And then start looking at, well, how does this relate to other areas of the data center? And you can see how it starts cascading, working out where the load would transfer from A to B, and seeing what the impacts would be, and then highlighting those devices. This is all modeled inside Neo, so Neo's doing this by reading the real-time telemetry of the data center, associating that to what's known as a device, which is a grouping of points, and then we can associate those devices to Nlyte assets. So we can start doing huge what-ifs within inside your data center using your real-time telemetry. So this is the power view inside Neo. Now I'm going to go back over to the core Nlyte system. We're going to have a look at a floor plan. And we're going to look at that same floor plan. So as I bring up this environment, you'll notice that there are new icons inside Nlyte. But there's this new icon up here that's telling us that number 10. So we have 10 alarms going off from our simulated Neo, bringing in 10 alarms into the Nlyte system. You'll also notice on the floor plan, we've got some flashing areas that are indicating to us where those alarms are and the affected assets. So they're telling us that this PDU is affected, which in turn is affecting these cabinets or racks within inside our data center. I can click on this alarm area, and I can see from here, I can see the associated devices or alarm points from Neo inside the Nlyte system, and how that relates from those alarms, how this relates into the Nlyte assets within inside that data center. And again, if this was set up in a real production world, this would be sending notifications, emails off to the relevant areas within inside the organization. And within the 8.1 patch, which will come out at the end of the year, 8.1 release, we'll be able to send these alarms and these alerts directly into Nlyte workflow. So you'll be able to start an Nlyte workflow, which in turn, with Nlyte workflow being able to connect to your incident systems or your requesting systems, which is like the business, you'll be able to drive predefined recovery plans from these alerts. Okay, so that's seeing the Neo metric data coming from the real-time telemetry into Nlyte, into the floor plans, and then seeing it on those data center floors. So if I go back now, we go back to the location again. What we're going to look at now is we're going to have a look at the multi-tenancy or the security of controlling location-based permissions inside Nlyte, so that we can look at a particular room. And again, I'm logged in as Nlyte Alarm, so I can see everything in this browser session. I'm going to bring up a different browser session in a minute and come in as a different user looking at the same room so we can see the differences. But I'm going to go in as this user, and we're literally going to load up the blue room, and as we load this environment, we'll see that I can see everything that's in that environment. So I can see all the pods, see all the devices, see everything within inside Nlyte. And if I run a quick search on that, I'll go through, we'll see my search numbers will return all of the assets within inside Nlyte, within inside that room. He says, typical demo star. Oh, there we go. Cool. So we'll see up there, 42,000 assets have come back in our search result. When I go in and I log in as a different user, in a different browser, so if I open up IE, and with an IE, if I log in under a different username, you'll notice that when I bring up the floor plan, these areas or these pods within inside this system have been blocked from my view. So I can't go to these assets, I can't even go to these areas, I can only work in these other areas. And it's really up to you as an individual inside your business how you want to mask or control these locations. We've literally, in this demo, I picked 2 pods. But basically, you could draw an area on the floor anywhere you like on this floor, or it could be any number of pods, or even a pod could be as small as underneath a cabinet. But you can control the access to who can see what inside your floor plans. And when I run the advanced search inside this system, under this permission through this browser, we'll see that the number is down by 5,000. So now what we're doing, we're controlling not only what you can visually see inside the floor plan, we're also controlling what you will be returned with inside your research results, and this applies directly to the BDM. This applies to any applications that are talking through the API based on your permission set. So you can really start now controlling who can access what and see what within inside the Nlyte system based on their location settings on their permission group within inside Nlyte. Okay, so that's the location-based permissions, and it is literally applying a location permission to a user's permission group within inside the administration application, and then that's it. You're now controlling who can see what within inside the system. If you don't want to take advantage of this, as you move from versions to versions, all of your existing permissions will move across, and all of your existing permissions will have access to everything. But if you want to start controlling that access, you start removing what they can and can't see by their locations. So now what we're going to do is have a look at the administration application itself. So we now have a new icon up on the top navigation system. So if you have the permissions and you've been set up to see alarms, you'll see the new alarm icon. If you've got permissions to see administration, you'll see the administration application. If you don't have permissions for either, they're going to be completely masked from you. We go in, and I'm going to give you a quick example of the new interface. As you can see, there's no buttons. Everything now is field level save and change. So what does that mean? It means if I go in here and I put a property into a field, you'll notice that it's getting ready to save. The minute I leave that field, it's saved. So we're trying to remove the need for you to have to click, save, move around the screens. We're trying to give you the ability now to rapidly go through, make your changes inside Nlyte, save those changes, and that's it, done. You don't have to basically click to a save, lose sight, or lose focus of the screen. Everything now is driven towards you carrying out your actions and moving through the application itself. And that's really it on the administration function itself. The admin properties, all the tools that were inside the administration application are the same. You still have the same capabilities. There are areas where we've gone through and we've added a lock capability. So we're locking any fields that could affect the system. You literally have to unlock this, then you can make a change. So if you've got permission to use administration, you can go in, unlock this property, and make the change. What you'll also notice, that's also worth pointing out, is when I'm in a field, when I do go to make a change, it's saving the change, but it's also going to be telling me where I am with inside the system and the administration. So we've brought in areas of the user manual into the Nlyte system itself, into these fields or into the application. So we're bringing help information across from the core system or from the help manual so you can see what it is you're doing with inside the application. So that's the major change around the admin app. So that's the first piece as we continue down the path of moving everything over to HTML5 that's now being redeveloped. So the next piece I'd like to look at is the dashboard. So what's new in dashboards, and show you. So like I was saying, we've moved over to now Dundas BI as our OEM. Dundas BI gives us the ability, because it's a BI building tool, it gives you the ability to rapidly build dashboards and tie those dashboards off of the Nlyte data warehouse, off of the Nlyte information, but also start choosing external sources to bring that information together. As well as there's no need now for the Silverlight plugin. So you don't need the Silverlight plugin to run these dashboards, they're all HTML5. Which means if you want to build dashboards, present these on your mobile technologies, you can. It's all HTML5 based. I've got some examples in here, so we've got some dashboards inside the system that we've kind of built that really are showing you some of the power of how you can bring in the metrics, you can start taking the information from Nlyte and really build executive level dashboards where you can see what's going on inside your organization and then start building the drill downs on that information so you can see, and there's this example from a DCIO dashboard, which is where I can see what's going on from a virtualization perspective across my environment, across each data center, based on a threshold and limit that I've set within inside the system.
Hey Rob, what is DCOI? Not everyone is going to be familiar with that.
So this is a federal government, a US federal government data center operation initiative, really, which is by 2018, the government has turned around and said all data centers must optimize and reduce and maximize their environments, and they've set targets for that maximization. So these dashboards, what we did was we took the power of Dundas BI, we built a number of dashboards that are focused on that initiative, mostly around the virtualization and capacity management of the environment. And we literally went through, built an executive level dashboard so you could see where you are on the targets. You can set the 2018 targets, so by 2018 they've got to get these data centers done. You can see the thresholds, and really you can start driving your organization to these numbers. But the reason I'm showing you this one is to just sort of so you can see the power of what you can do with these dashboards and how you can start really using dashboards, not just for reporting, but as an operational tool so you can start pushing change within inside your organization. And that's, in a nutshell, and that's quite a quick demo, I know, as well as slides, but it was really to show you what's new inside Nlyte 8. The main things, if we look back on them, the main things are now we have Neo, which gives us real-time connections into your telemetry inside your data center. So when I say real-time, I know we've been reading real-time information before at 15-minute intervals. We can now do this in sub-1 minute readings. We can have sub-1 minute readings of energy, metrics, temperatures, whatever's inside your environment, real-time telemetry, alert on that, push those alerts into the Nlyte system, push those alerts inside your organization and visualize those alerts on your floor plan. So you can actually see where are the affected areas and where are the affected assets. When you add location-based permissions to this, you can really control the security of who can see what within inside your environment and who has access to your information.
So Rob, there have been a few more questions. I don't know if we're going to be able to get all the questions, but I'm going to give you the next one. By the way, Alexi says, hi, Rob. So Alexi also had a question, and I'm just going to read it exactly as it's been put in. Does HTML5 use in the Nlyte admin tool only? Question mark.
It is. Today it is. Well, actually, that's not true. I'll take that back. So it's two parts. So administration application is HTML5. Dundas BI is HTML5. So they're the two major areas of the Nlyte application that are now fully over to HTML5. We're in a program right now, and we have been for a while now, rebuilding the Nlyte application. And when I say rebuilding, we are literally going through rebuilding the whole UI, everything ground up on HTML5, REST APIs, and we're turning the Nlyte application or extending it more into an open platform, so an operating system for your environment.
Okay, great.
Cool.
The next question is from Margaret. What is involved in upgrading?
So an upgrade for yourselves, literally, you schedule that with our support guys. They can get online with you. They can send you the Nlyte system, so where to download the latest version, and it's literally an installation shield. It will move you over to the new version.
Okay, I'm going to try and phrase this question from Paul. The question, I'm sort of paraphrasing it here because it doesn't necessarily, just trying to pull it together. Is Neo included as part of Nlyte?
No, no.
Okay.
So Neo is, we can sell Neo as a standalone energy optimizer around your environment. So it can be used on its own, it has its own database, it can be stood on its own, it can be used for managing and understanding telemetry from the facility side of things within inside your environment. When it's connected to Nlyte, we call that Platinum.
Okay.
So it's joined together, and when you have the Platinum license, it means we can push telemetry across and we can connect facilities to IT.
Okay. We have a question from Mohammed. You've shown the energy optimizer and I can see the impact by clicking to the item. Is there a same what-if report with affected assets exists?
There is, inside Nlyte. So this is where when you get to Platinum, when you bring the two together, inside the EE version, or the Nlyte as you would all know it without Neo, inside there we can model business units, business applications, and your groups to your assets. Well, inside Nlyte, you can do an impact report to say if these assets were affected, you could identify who that would mean, like which departments, which applications, or which business units would be affected if you were to use that equipment.
Okay. Most of the remaining questions are very specific to individual customers, so we'll have to get to those customers offline. Rob, I want to thank you for the time you spent with us. I want to thank everyone online who spent time listening today. We appreciate your attending. As we said before, we'll be sending out a link to the recording of this webinar if you want to listen to it again and again and again. So again, thanks for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Have a great day.
Thank you.